How to start a business in 5 days. This is day 2, and we're going to talk about a couple of things today. Now, really, one of the biggest things that stops people from starting successful businesses or just moving forward at all, particularly when you're working at a full-time job and you need the money that you're making, is this thought that it's probably going to fail. Now, whether you think that consciously or not, there's a good chance that in the back of your head somewhere, you're saying, I'm just not sure about this whole thing because I think it's probably going to fail. And we're going to talk today about how do you start a business where failure is impossible. How to make failure impossible when you're starting a business. Now, that sounds like a bold promise, but stick with me because I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. There's 2 components to that. Now, I told you I was going to bust 3 big myths in this video series, and the second of those 3 myths that I'm going to bust is this notion that your business is probably going to fail. And what happens is the media has decided that they love to sensationalize everything, right? Whenever you go to a news website or you turn on the news on the television, you have to always remember and keep in the front of your head that there are people at that station whose job it is to figure out what you will watch and to figure out what to put on the air that people will watch. And their goal, their number one goal, is not to report the news to you, but to get you to watch. So they have to look at it from a standpoint of, what can I say and do and report that will get people's attention? And what gets people's attention is not listing out successful businesses or profiling successful businesses or profiling people who maybe tried a couple of things that didn't work out and then that led them to a success. No, it's to profile big failures. They love to say, things like Donald Trump has filed bankruptcy. They love to say that a major retail chain has filed for bankruptcy and is going to be closing 100 stores and laying off 5,000 people. That's the kind of stuff that gets news headlines. Another thing that gets news headlines is a statistic like 80% of new businesses fail within the first 5 years, or whatever it is. I just made that up. That's the real statistic is something like that. Now, that's the kind of stuff that gets attention. So what happens is that is the kind of stuff that is put at the forefront of the news and all the media reporting that you see out there. So what happens is, when we're constantly exposed to that stuff, we start to think, wow, starting a business must be really, really risky. And most of the time, it fails. So, but the problem is, that's not how it really works in reality. Now, if you've listened to any episodes of the How to Quit Working show, which most folks watching this have been listening to the How to Quit Working show for a while, you know that every single time I interview somebody on the How to Quit Working show, I ask them about failure. I ask them, what's the biggest mistake that you've made, or what's the biggest failure that you had? And the answer is always the same. They always preface it by saying, well, I don't really view anything as a failure. I just view it as a learning experience. Because what they realize and what they recognize is that starting a successful business is not about identifying this great idea and then making a beeline for it. It's about starting a conversation with a group of people and trying to figure out what it is that they might want, and then weaving your way through until you finally get to something that works. And what that means is, along the way, you will try things that won't work. You will put an offer out there and nobody will buy it. Or maybe a small number of people will buy it. Or maybe people will buy it and not like it. Right? There's all these different things that can happen. But what separates successful people from people who are struggling or people who don't have successful businesses is the way they view failure. And the successful people don't let it define them. So when Jeet Banerjee was on my show, you can watch his episode at howtoquitworking.com/Jeet, Jeet. He made a really good point about failure. And what he said was that failure does not define you. Failure is just an event. As he puts it, last Monday at 2 o'clock, I failed. Now, I can either let that define me and define who I am and define how I move forward or don't move forward, or I can just view it as an event that happened and move on, right? And whatever happens that is a quote-unquote failure or whatever doesn't work always contains really, really good lessons and really good information. So what successful people do is they move forward and something doesn't work out. Call it failure, call it whatever you want. I'm not afraid of the word failure, and you shouldn't be afraid of the word failure. It's okay to say I fail. I fail all the time. I fail several times a week. And that's okay because you view it as a learning experience that you then move forward from, not as something that defines you and then, I'm a failure. This is never going to work. That's not the way you do it. You look at it as a learning experience and you move on. Now, how can you really fail? How can you really, really fail when you view it like that? When you really view it as a learning experience that does not define you, it's just something that gives you information that you then use to move forward. That is how successful people look at failure, and that is how successful people move themselves forward. There's never anything that will stop you, ever. That's the way you have to look at it. Nothing will ever stop you. It will only provide you information that you need to move on. That's it. In these days, in the techniques that we use in the How to Quit Working system throughout this video series and the techniques that I go into a lot more detail in the How to Quit Working Now training, gives you ways to go out there and get stuff in front of people and show them what you have to offer and see what they think very inexpensively, in many cases for no money at all. Right? So if you're following a system like this, it's really, really hard to fail because number one, you don't view a failure as something that defines you and stops you. And number two, you're able to get out there and do that failing really quickly and really inexpensively. The more you fail and the faster you fail, the faster you move forward. So the first thing that you got to do is redefine how you look at failure. It's no longer a bad thing. It's just a learning experience. It's something that happens and you move on. You learn from it and you move on. That's all. That's it. Successful people view it that way, and you have to view it that way if you want to quit working and start a business of your own. There's no question about it. Now, let's talk about practically speaking. I told you I was going to show you how to start a business in 5 days in this free video series, and that's absolutely what I'm going to do. So now we got to get down and do some work for day 2. Now, on day 1, you took a look at what do you want your life to look like, right? What do you want your life to be like on a day-to-day basis? Do you want to travel? Do you want to work with clients? Do you want to work on a beach? What do you want to do? So you really defined that. You got really clear on that, and you filled out a worksheet that helped you to answer some really pinpointed questions about that. And then you also looked at, well, what do you know? What's the asset or the resource that you bring forward? What do people come to you for? What do people already come to you for looking for your help or your expertise with? Now, with that as a foundation and with that as a framework, now we're going to move forward and advance that conversation. Because as you remember in the last video, we talked about how it's not about getting a brilliant idea and then going out and executing that idea, because that's just arrogant thinking. It's arrogant to think that you know what the market wants, and it's arrogant to think that you know what people are going to buy. You don't. Even the top marketers don't know that. All right? So they're top marketers because they realize that they don't know that, and they start that conversation via focus groups and whatever other resources and ways they have to open up a dialogue with potential customers to find out what they want. Now, that's what we're going to do now. We're going to open up that dialogue with potential customers and find out what they want. And we're going to do that with 2 main things. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go on to Amazon and do some research. Now, this is really easy and really fun. You are so lucky to be starting a business today because you live in a world where people can go to a website such as Amazon.com, and there's many other websites that work for this as well. Amazon just happens to be the biggest and the best place to get the most information the most quickly. But people will purchase a product on Amazon, whether it's a book or anything. They'll purchase it on Amazon, and then they will leave reviews. They will tell you what they like and what they don't like about that product. Amazing, amazing wealth of information that you have access to. You have access to a ton of information about what consumers are buying and what they like and what they don't like about those things that they're buying. That's a gold mine. All right, so what we're going to do today is you're going to take that area of expertise, or that area where people already come to you looking for information that we talked about in the last video, and you're going to go find products or products on Amazon. So, and that may be books, that may be devices, or that may be anything that's sold on Amazon. Whatever it is, you're going to find things that are related to that. And books are a great place to start. They're really the best place to start. But you're going to find books and products on Amazon that address that need, or that address a similar need to what people already come to you for. And you're going to find 5 of those, 5 of the leading products that are out there on Amazon around that. So if you, for example, determined in the last video that people come to you looking for advice about gardening. So people come to you and they say, my radishes are dying. My radishes die every July when it gets hot. What do I do? How do I keep my radishes alive? Well, then you will look for gardening books. You look for books about how to grow vegetables in your garden, and look at those books and pick 5 of them. Pick 5 of the ones that are most closely related to that topic that people ask you for your help with, and look at the reviews. Dig really deeply into the reviews now, and pick products that have, at least 50 or more reviews, because that gives you a wide breadth of information about that product. And what you want to do is you want to find 3 things in those reviews. And you're going to read a lot of reviews. This is work, don't get me wrong, because it does require work to start a successful business. You're going to dig in and read those reviews, and you're going to find 3 things that people consistently love about those books, right? So when you're looking through the books and you're seeing that people are leaving positive comments, look where they're consistently leaving what they're consistently leaving positive comments about. For example, some of the books might go into great detail and really make people happy, because they really discuss in great detail the frequency with which you should water your vegetables. And people might really like that. People might really like the great examples that are given in the book. So whatever those things are, find the top 3 things that people consistently love about those 5 books. And you do that by digging in to the reviews and getting really intimate with the reviews and really understanding the trends that exist throughout the reviews. And then the other thing that you're going to look for is the 3 things that people consistently don't like about the books. So what is it that, when you look at those 5 books, you'll see, and you'll look at the lower star ratings, like the 2s and the 3s, and even a little bit in the 4s, you'll see consistent complaints. So consistently people will say, this book doesn't offer enough detail. This book doesn't give enough examples. This book doesn't talk enough about growing lettuce. Whatever it is, look at those things, read through those negative reviews and the negative portions of the middle tier reviews, and identify the 3 biggest things. Identify the 3 biggest things that people complain about and that people don't like about those books. Excuse me. So go through all of those reviews for those 5 books in your area of expertise. Find 3 things that people consistently love about those books, and 3 things that people consistently complain about those books, and write those down. So keep a note, a document that lets you track those things that people like and don't like, because we're going to use that as we move forward. Because what's happening here and what we're doing here is we're getting an idea for what the market wants and what they like about what's out there and what they want more of. So if consistently people are saying there's not enough information about growing lettuce on these books, then you know that potentially there is room for a book about growing lettuce, or a book that offers more detail about growing lettuce, or a book that offers more examples, or whatever it is that you find that people are complaining about. And also, by knowing what people like, you can also ensure that you deliver a product that people are going to like as well. So 5 books, Read the reviews, find 3 things people like and 3 things people don't like consistently about those books. Now, that's the first thing that you're going to do to start understanding what your market wants and what you can deliver to them. Now, the second thing that you're going to do is you're going to open a dialogue with people who are interested in the same stuff. Now, not just people that you know. It's very important that you begin talking to strangers, people that you don't know, that you've never met. And there's a lot of really great ways that you can do this nowadays because, again, we have this wonderful thing called the internet that connects everybody in the entire world and lets you, for completely free, get access to people who are working through the problem that you're trying to solve. So what you want to do is go out on forums and maybe social media and chat rooms and online groups and find places, discussion groups where people are talking about this problem that you're able to address. So go out there and find these forums and these groups and these online chat groups and the social media groups and get involved in a couple of them. Try to get involved in 2 or 3 of them that are talking about this topic area that you have something to add in and get really involved in the conversation. Go out there and start talking to people, particularly, here's the beautiful thing about these forums is if somebody's out on a gardening forum, they will absolutely post their problems. They will say, I am having a heck of a time getting my radishes to grow in July. I have no idea where I got that example. I don't like radishes at all, but that might be something that you see people posting about. They might say that they have a heck of a time figuring out how much to water. They don't know if they're watering not enough or too much. And if you're an expert in that domain, then you can step in and help. But you've got to get involved in this conversation so that you can begin to understand what it is that people want, what do they struggle with, and what do they want help with. Because this information is going to give you a ton of intellectual capital that you will use to create a product that people will just beat down your door to buy. Because if you want to quit working, what you have to have before you go in and throw down that letter of resignation is you have to have a group of people lined up at your door with their wallets out looking for what you have to offer. And this is how you find it. All right, so go out on Amazon, do research on 5 books, find 3 things that people like, 3 things that people don't like, and then also go to online forums and chat rooms and social media groups and begin getting involved in the conversation and really begin to start to talk to people who want what you have to offer and really get a deep, deep understanding. And again, these conversation is just about listening. Don't be nervous about entering the conversation because you're just listening. There's no pressure. You're not selling anything. You're just listening. That's all you're doing. Listening is so incredibly important to creating successful products because you've got to listen to what the market wants. All right, so start with those 2 things, and tomorrow I'll be back with another video, and we're going to talk about what to do with that information that you've gathered and what you can do to create products that people will not be able to wait to buy because you already really know exactly what they want. All right. Thanks for listening to this. Go out and do those 2 things, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.